massacre in Pike County we've been telling you about all day. Just moments ago, Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine said in 8 the shooting victim had been found. That shooting scene is near the border with Adams County. Police are investigating at least 3 different locations on or near Union Hill Road, which is northeast of Peebles. Chopper 9 was over the area at noon today as the investigation was underway. At least 2 of the victims, we're told, are juveniles, and at least 7 of those victims are believed to be members of the same family. That is according to comments by Attorney General Mike DeWine. He made those to 700 WLW. It is not known if the gunman is among the dead.
If your family had anything to do with this?
Absolutely not. None of us were anywhere near that place that night.
Hey family, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a true crime story for you. It's one of my favorite, and I hate to say that because it is such a gruesome situation, but I would like to bring forth to you today the story surrounding the Piketon Family Massacre. It's a tragic situation that happened in rural Ohio, and we're going to go ahead and get into it. So this is a custody dispute battle that happened between 2 families, which erupted into the massacre of 8 people in rural southern Ohio, which started with the plan to kill only one of them, a young mother who refused to give up her daughter. Just months before the killings that occurred in 2016, the family behind the plot decided to kill everyone that could point the finger at them. Now, authorities say that the shootings of 7 adults and a teenage boy stemmed from a dispute over a young girl that Jake Wagner had with one of the victims, who was 19-year-old Hanna Rhoden. The 2 families had been close for years, but many described the Wagner family as being obsessed with gaining control over the minor child. The family had pressured Hanna Rhoden to sign away custody, but she vowed in a Facebook message that was sent 4 months prior to the massacre that they would have to kill her first. Jake Wagner told investigators that he first pushed back against his parents when they talked about killing Hanna Rhoden, but he later relented. Eventually, the family settled on killing 4 of the family members because they believed that the girl was being raised around people who were dangerous. Now, the Wagners spent 3 months planning the massacre, buying masks, ammunition, and a device to jam phone signals. The 2 brothers even dyed their hair in the weeks leading up to the killings, and by the 2 brothers I mean both Wagner boys. Several discoveries led investigators to the Wagners, including a shell casing found outside the Wagners' home that matched one from a gun that killed 5 of the victims. Among those killed also were 40-year-old Kenneth Rhoden Sr., his ex-wife 37-year-old Dana Rhoden, their 3 children, 20-year-old Clarence, Frankie Rhoden, 16-year-old Christopher Jr., and Hanna. Clarence Rhoden's fiancée, 20-year-old Hanna Gilley, Kenneth Rhoden Sr.'s brother, 44-year-old Kenneth Rhoden, and a cousin, 38-year-old Gary Rhoden. Now, Jake Wagner told investigators that he fired the first shot the night of the killings, but it was his father who killed the first of the 8, Kenneth Rhoden Sr. According to the special prosecutor involved with the case, Jake Wagner told investigators that his father then cried out, "I just shot my best friend." Now, prosecutors said most of the victims were killed as they slept, and in some cases next to their very young children, who were not injured. The April 2016 shootings at 3 mobile homes and a camper near Piketon terrified residents in that part of rural Ohio and initially prompted speculation about drug cartel involvement. The resulting multi-million-dollar investigation and prosecution is among the state's most extensive. So that is just a little background information on the Piketon Family Massacre. This story captured my attention way back then because I was expecting my daughter at the time. And, you know, like I said, I'm a very, I'm heavily into the true crime community. I've been watching true crime shows since I was about, I can't even remember. But this particular case really captured my heart because to have taken out an entire family in minutes, right? The calculated nature of the crimes really rocked me to my core. Now, at the time that the story came out, nobody really knew what was going on. The custody case information really hadn't been made. It was made public, but they really didn't start, I guess, really diving deep into that. And that situation is messy. To me, I like to describe this case as a case between the haves and the have-nots. You have the Rhoden family and you have the Wagner family. The Wagner family was one of the most elite families in rural Ohio, and then you have the Rhoden family that, you know, was a family full of love. They were just really good, hardworking people, but they didn't have as much as as much finances or financial stability, I guess if you can say, as the Wagner family did. And it's even sad to see that Frederica Wagner, I believe she is like the grandmother of Jake Wagner in this case. They had like a farm and all of these things like that, but she was like the matriarch, and to see that she actually took part in covering up, things that occurred with this massacre. I can't really remember who it was. I want to say it was Frederica, or maybe it was the Jake Wagner's mom that kind of forged documents in the custody case, which really is the reason why they chose to do this, go about killing this entire family, because they wanted to gain control of that girl. And in my opinion, you can't help who you fall in love with, right? And this kind of reminds me slightly of the situation that we've seen unfold with the Murdaugh family. Okay, you have a prominent family who kind of spun out of control because they were in power for so long, and they didn't feel like they had anybody that would kind of hold them accountable, okay, until everything just boiled over. It's similar to the Piketon Family Massacre in that you have a very powerful family who thought that they could, plan things out, use their influence, right? And as long as, I guess, they thought that as long as they were being detailed and they planned this out, for an extensive amount of time, they damn near almost got away with it. When I tell you they almost got away with it, which is what's scary, because the entire community was shooketh, okay? They were shook to their core. I don't live anywhere near Ohio, and I was frightened, okay? And so I don't think that a lot of the times criminals or people who are necessarily thinking about doing heinous crimes, right? And I'm not a criminal. I'm not anything of the sort. But I follow these cases enough to know that, or to pick them apart and analyze them. And it's like, I don't think they realize, rather, that in the midst of their planning and their scheming and their plotting, that there's no perfect murder. You're going to fall short somewhere. You're going to fall short somewhere. In the case of the Murdaugh family, you have what some believe is a smoking gun that jurors kind of moved to convict Alex Murdaugh was he didn't account for his son having that Snapchat video. They don't account for technology, right? And I think that technology is ultimately going to be the demise of, I don't want to say the world, but yeah. But it's definitely going to be a demise for a lot of criminals. I don't think people are going to be able to get away with murders like that, especially since they have surveillance cameras, they have digital footprints, there is just digital evidence galore. And even when people think that they are able to delete certain things from their cell phones, their computers, their social media devices, nothing is truly ever gone. Nothing is truly gone. Now, in the case of the Piketon Family Massacre, they damn near almost got away with it. And I think that for me, what was chilling was the fact that they ordered some cell phone blocker type situation that would jam the phone signals, so that if the Rhoden family were to try to call out for help, their phone signals wouldn't go out, right? So they were eventually doomed. And that is creepy and scary. But what they did not account for was that they were sloppy. As calculated as you think you may have been, right? And I do believe that they even went to the scenes where they were killing, the Wagner family. They did pick up those shell casings. However, they did not account for the fact that once investigators were searching around their property and things like that, that they just were not as meticulous as they thought they were. That is, what eventually kind of led prosecutors to put the nail in their coffin, so to speak. They according to what I just shared with you all, they left a shell casing of some sort around the Wagner's home, and it matched the gun that killed the 5 of the Wagner victims. Okay, and so you have to kind of just sit back and think to yourself, and just assess all of the criminal cases that you've come to know, that you've studied, trials that you've watched. There is no perfect murder, right? No perfect murder. There's going to be some corners that are cut, something that's going to slide up under the rug, and essentially it all boils down to the fact that you can't just go around doing wrong to anybody. Yeah, you think that you might be able to get away with certain things, but there's always going to be something that's going to get you caught up, okay? And so I just wanted to share this story with you all. I'm going to link some information down in the description box below so that you are free to kind of research this story yourself, familiarize yourself with the case. I'm going to link some documentaries associated with it and all of that. When I tell you that this was chilling, it was chilling. And all for what? All for them to seek custody and try to gain custody of a little girl who is no longer being raised by either one of the family members. I mean, you annihilated the girl's mother and her grandparents, uncles, cousins, like, and then you guys are convicted of the murder. So you thought that you doing that, right, would automatically give the courts custody, the courts would give you guys custody of the little girl. That did not happen. So now you're rotting away in prison. Thank God that, you know, and they can thank God that the death penalty was off the table for them, even though I believe, you know, in my heart of hearts that you should, if you're going to go out and heinously like commit a crime like that, you should be expected to have that same thing done in return for you. Now, on the one hand, I do feel like sometimes people may sit and they think about what they've done, right? And the best thing for them is just like, okay, well, I've made peace about it, especially if they have come to know God. They've made peace about the situation and they're ready to die. They want the death penalty. To me, that's a cop-out. I feel like you should sit in prison. You should rot. You should be there with rats, rodents, and everything like that. Slap boxing, fall, like your food was taken away, having disgusting food, especially the Wagners, right, who come from, like I said, they were a prestigious family in Ohio. And to come from that $1 million lifestyle to, you know, just being bound by chains and shackles and, you know, people screaming and yelling in prisons all night long. Like, it's just, I think to me, that is a better punishment, life without the possibility of parole, as opposed to them, you know, being afforded the death penalty and escaping that reality. But, and that's only me saying that because I've never died before. And so I don't know what is on that other side, right? I can only imagine that it's a cop-out, but we truly don't know. So this may be their hell on earth, or they, you know, if those people that do, you know, that are fortunate enough, I guess, in their eyes, to be afforded the death penalty and, you know, ultimately executed, you know, maybe, I don't know. Nobody really knows what's on the other side. Now, on that, you know, the flip side of that is, of course, when you are executed, it does take about 20 years or so. Maybe not as long, maybe even longer. But I know you don't get executed right away. So I think that, you know, the days leading up to that, like, you never truly know. You know what I'm saying? Well, then again, I do think that they give them execution dates. I'm not sure. But, if they don't, right, imagine living every day, right, just in suspense for the rest of your life, not knowing if you're going to wake up that day and, you know, being told, hey, it's time to, you know, go to the execution chambers or whatever. What is your last meal, or however that situation unfolds. But this was a very tragic case. Again, like I said, I'm going to link some articles, some resources, and just some links to some documentaries in the description box below so that you guys can familiarize yourself with the case, read up on it, delve into it, and you might take interest in this case. I have a lot more of these that are coming, more detailed videos. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I'm just enthralled with true crime and the true crime community, but I think that I owe, you know, just due to my viewership and my, I guess my interest in the, you know, the genre of true crime, I think that the least that I could do is just give some voice to the victims in these cases that I'm covering, and just to share their stories with the world, to some of you that don't necessarily know them or are not familiar with who they are, okay? I have a video coming up with regards to Taylor Rose Williams, a beautiful 5-year-old girl who was killed by her mother in Alabama, but the family resided in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. That is actually where I am from and where I live. And when I tell you guys that case really is another case that rocked me to my core, I can remember vividly because I don't live too far from the community where Taylor and her mother moved to, and remembering how people would knock on the door, just, you know, my door, you know, asking, had we seen her, do we know any information about the case? And Taylor Rose and my daughter were the same age at the time, and I could not imagine anything like that happening to my sweet baby girl. So that is a case that I'm definitely going to take my time with. I definitely want to touch on Tristan Bailey's case, which is another unfortunate case that happened here in Jacksonville, Florida. Not necessarily in Jacksonville, but surrounding area. I want to talk about Jolene Cummings, and I can't think of the Kimberly Kessler. Yeah, I want to touch on that as well. So I have a lot of cases coming to you all that are Florida based, but that's not where it stops, okay? So be prepared. If you like the content, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, drop down in the comments and let me know if you are familiar with the Piketon Family Massacre. Share your thoughts with me. Let me know what you thought about the case. Let me know what your thoughts were when you first heard about it. If you didn't follow the case from the inception or from the very beginning, let me know at what point that you picked it up. What are your thoughts on the case kind of being similar to, well, the backgrounds of the Wagners being similar to that of the Murdaugh family? So thank you guys so much for checking out my video, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.